This is the BrainChip Quarterly Investor Podcast. Join us for answers to some of the most frequently asked questions put forward by BrainChip shareholders each quarter. This podcast is for both existing investors and potential future investors who are interested in the development of AI.
Welcome to the BrainChip Quarterly Investor Podcast series. My name is Tony Dawe, Director of Global Investor Relations for BrainChip. Each quarter, I compile a list of some of our shareholders' most frequently asked questions and put those questions to a senior member of the BrainChip team. Today, I'll be putting those questions directly to BrainChip CEO, Sean Hehir. Hi, Sean, and welcome back to the Quarterly Investor Podcast.
Hi, Tony. Good to talk again.
So, Sean, let's start by discussing the announcement made on 3rd of October that the second generation Akida technology platform is now available as IP to EAP customers. Can you tell us what that means in layman's terms and how you expect this news will impact the prospects of generating royalty-bearing IP sales agreements from customers?
Sure. Good. Great way to start. First of all, I'm personally super excited with the release of the product. If you look what I said at the AGM, Generation 1 product is a very good leadership product in the market, but very narrow focus. There's for very specific use case. With Generation 2, we are now able to address a much broader set of use cases, much set of business problems, models, and things without getting overly technical. This is the product that we're going to build the company on going forward. We will see engagements, and actually we have engagements in the pipeline right now in Generation 1, but overwhelmingly, the pipeline is in Generation 2. The interest is outstanding because it does some really important things, particularly around some of the new algorithms we release around TENS, which I'm sure you've heard about and read about, but also supporting features like 8-bit, skip connections, things like that people really want. So the interest is very strong. The offering is very, very strong. I know it's going to have an impact on the future of this company.
Thanks, Sean. It was also announced last quarter that BrainChip, in partnership with VVDN, will have available for pre-sale later this year an EdgeBoox incorporating the Akida 1000 chip. Can you explain what an EdgeBoox is used for, how we plan to sell it, and what the target market and commercial opportunity is for this product?
Sure, Tony. An EdgeBoox is a tool that can be used by AI developers to create new edge AI products. Specifically, some of the use cases you're asking about would be things such as retail to monitor shoppers' behavior and items moving off the shelf, as an example, or perhaps home security. The form factor of this box is going to be very slim and a price point that's very, very attractive. And of course, it'll be the first neuromorphic-based edge AI box in the market. So we think we have a unique position there. The important thing is it doesn't signal a shift in our business model. We're still an IP company. We sell intellectual property for those building custom pieces of silicon. However, it's important to get workloads out into the market through vehicles like the VVDN box, and this box will just prove the capabilities of our Akida technology. So it's a really nice way to demonstrate our capabilities in the market. Now, the primary sales motion will be through VVDN and their channels, but of course, we will offer it as well on our website as an opportunity for people to place some orders.
Obviously, since we last spoke on this podcast, the share price has fallen significantly. And BrainChip has subsequently been removed from the ASX 200 index, which has further driven down the share price as index-linked investors have been forced to sell their holdings in BrainChip. What can you say to give investors hope for both the near future and for the longer term?
Sure. I think you're correct to point out that there was a lot of forced selling once we came close to the ASX 200 line, and which, of course, caused further price deterioration. Now, I believe that our price has overcorrected. I believe that BrainChip is well positioned. I believe that the market is very, very early, and I think it represents a very good buying opportunity for investors. I'm confident in our intermediate and long-term future. It's just something we're going through right now.
One of the frequently asked questions I get from our shareholders is why our board and senior executives aren't buying shares as a show of support for the company and to demonstrate their belief in their own efforts to grow the business. Are you able to comment on that and speak to your own position regarding buying shares in BrainChip?
Yeah, Tony, I think, I know that's a very common practice in Australia. It's a little less common in other parts of the world. And ultimately, it's every director's personal choice as they look at their investment portfolio and how they want to balance it.
So the recently announced partnership announcement with EdgeBoox could see BrainChip technology deployed in space by the European Space Agency. Does this signal a change in focus away from NASA, or is this a case of both space agencies identifying neuromorphic AI as a solution to a common problem?
It absolutely does not signal any change in the relationship with any existing customer or partner that we have whatsoever. It just indicates an increase of interest from another potential customer / partner. In fact, I would say we are engaged with other organizations around the world around space technologies, and hopefully we will see some further announcements in that space, play on word space. But it is certainly a lot of interest in space for several reasons. All the basic principles of our technology, which is the ability to do work without a network connectivity, is critical in space. The ability to do it in a low power environment is critical in space. So yes, things with the European Space Agency, NASA, continue. And of course, other organizations, which I can't comment on, we're engaged with right now.
We've heard several times that the number of customer engagements has never been higher, and that our global sales team is engaged with numerous customer engagements. Can you provide an update on some of these engagements and speak about your personal role in the sales and customer engagement process?
Sure. So, yes, that statement is true. It's absolutely true that the number and the depth of engagements has never been higher, and it's accelerating. We're getting inbound and outbound opportunities every single day that we're developing on the outbound, but inbound coming through our website and inbound phone calls. As you know, I am personally overseeing the sales team for the last several months, so I'm intimate in every single critical engagement. I'm fully aware of where we are, and I'm very comfortable that we're progressing on the path and the timeline that we want to be on. The excitement level from the customers, particularly around Generation 2, is exceptional. So yes, I'm very, very interested. Can I give you specific updates? Absolutely not. Something we can't talk about is those engagements. We're under NDAs. Nothing's been signed, but I'm very, very comfortable where we are with those.
Given that we can't speak about specific customers due to our NDAs, can you describe some of the types of engagements we are currently working on? Can you clarify if we have lost any customers to competitor products, and explain how BrainChip compares to and differentiates itself from our competitors?
Sure. So the type of engagements we're seeing interest across many verticals, certainly continue in auto, wearables, hearing aids, Internet of Things or industrial. So we're seeing across all of those kind of verticals currently. Have we lost any customer to any engagements on technology? The answer is no. Now we're in the middle of many. We don't know what the outcome will be, but to date we have not lost any. Now, what we have happened in the company, we have won technical engagements, and the customer has decided to not go forth and build chips. I'm aware of that, but no, we are not losing in head-to-head technical evaluations at this time.
Excellent. It's almost 2 years since you started in the job as BrainChip CEO, and in that time there have been no IP license sales and no revenue generated from royalties. Shareholders have been expressing their impatience and frustration about that, and some are questioning whether you're the right person to continue driving the company forward. Would you like to comment on that observation?
Sure. First of all, I want to acknowledge and understand the frustration of many shareholders right now. I too share that frustration. I'm an impatient person. So I would like to see results come quicker and continue to push the entire organization incredibly hard to deliver those results. But let's set some context. When I arrived here 2 years ago, this was a company that really was a research organization, and it had just kind of got out through the development phase. Since then, we acknowledged that the first generation of product was too narrow. We've done a tremendous push to release the second one and built up a whole new sales, marketing, and go-to-market motion to it. All that needed to be done. So I absolutely believe I'm the right person to do that, to drive the product change, the roadmap change, put the processes in place, and create a go-to-market engine that can propel us going forward from here.
Has there been any consideration given to changing the commercial strategy given the lack of IP sales agreements and sales revenue?
I think of course, we always examine as a management team opportunities, checking our strategy, looking for things that we can do differently. But one of the things you can't do when you lead a company is change a business model lightly. We believe we have the right business model for sure. IP sales take time, they're lengthy, but when they hit, it's a very solid model that yields fruits that for the shareholders that are very, very powerful. Having said that, we always look for modifications. Things like VVDN is a very good example. It's a good way to try a little bit of the hardware business, which we don't want to go into, but it's a good way to try our chips, get our workloads out there. Let's be clear, if you pivot, as some have suggested, to a chip form factor, that has a whole set of operational risk, capital risk, that we don't think is the right model to do. The edge AI market is still new, and it's important to be flexible and nimble, and that's what IP allows us to do, particularly with our generation 2. We can scale very low, and we can scale very, very high. No one really knows exactly where the market's going to go. So you really don't want to lock onto a form factor or a chip with a certain number of nodes, certain vertical or certain interfaces. You could be wrong, and then you've got real problems in the company. So we're very comfortable we have the right business model.
Thanks for clarifying that, Sean, and that's really encouraging to hear. You've been criticised for not being present in Australia, where most of the shareholders reside, at a time when the share price and market capitalisation has fallen substantially. Do you think this criticism is legitimate, and what are you doing to improve communication with Australian shareholders?
Well, I think all feedback is legitimate. Let's call it that, not criticism. But my job is to run the company, and that requires a lot of areas, including sales, engineering, research. So what I've got to do is allocate my time to the best use to move the entire organization forward. Having said that, part of that, of course, is with shareholders. So this helps something like this that we're doing right here, which I can do. We also communicate extensively through social media channels. I know Australian investors prefer the ASX, but I would encourage them to really look at our social media presence, where we communicate almost daily, if not multiple times a week, about what we're doing out to customers and shareholders. In fact, when I talk to customers, which I do every single day here, the feedback I get is, you have a very recognizable brand. You're out there communicating extensively to the market. So I know we're out there. Having said that, as you know, I will be in Australia here next week, and I look forward to being there and meeting as many shareholders as possible. And certainly my goal going forward is to try to get there more often than I have the last 2 years, which is twice. My goal is to increase it, but I've got to balance it with everything I've got.
I asked our chairman, Antonio Viana, during the last investor podcast to explain as simply as possible how the Akida 2.0 platform differs from the first generation AKD 1000 chip. I'd like to ask you the same question and get your thoughts on how this new product offering appeals to customers you're talking to now.
We could talk a long time about this. This is a topic I'm very, very passionate about. So let me start with a couple opening comments for context. I talked a moment ago about this company being a research-oriented company when I arrived. We've now transformed the company to a market-facing company, and building the second generation product was all about getting customer feedback, getting analyst feedback, surveying the market, what's going to win in the market. So let's start with that, which is this is the view of the market that it represents in generation 2. So certain changes that the market expected us to do, including 8-bit support, which we do, including long-range skip connections, what we do, including support for Onyx PyTorch, which we do. They expected us to do it, we're doing that. And then some of the revolutionary advancements around technology, around vision transformer encoder, something that allows breakthrough performance. We heard that's what the market wants. We're including that in generation 2. And then, of course, something what we call TENS, which is a proprietary algorithm with breakthrough performance. This is a critical platform that allows us to address many, many use cases. And I use the word platform specifically because within that platform, we have defined 3 discrete products as well, an E, an S, and a P for various use cases. Of course, at the core of Akita, it's still scalable and flexible off of those 3. Those 3 products are what we're going to lean into, and those are the discussion points we have with all of our customers. It is a significant change for the company.
Thanks, Sean. It's been a pleasure talking to you today, and I hope your responses to these questions will go some way to satisfying investors' appetite for more information about BrainChip. Thank you for listening to episode 3 of the BrainChip Quarterly Investor Podcast with my guest, BrainChip CEO, Sean Hehir. The next Quarterly Investor Podcast will be released in February 2024. Until then, on behalf of BrainChip, thank you for your support and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the BrainChip Quarterly Investor Podcast. Please remember to rate and review on your favorite podcast platform. You can always learn more at BrainChip.com.